Here are your new music picks for winter of 2022. Hey everyone, Cadaver Kelly here. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm an underground music journalist with a focus in post-punk, wave, death rock, goth rock, synth pop, and dark punk. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my picks for new music releases from winter of 2022. This will actually start with December of 2021 through February of 2022. This will include both goth and goth-adjacent genres, so everything under the typical goth umbrella, plus some other types of dark alternative music like shoegaze and industrial. This will include albums and EPs. It does not include singles. All of these releases are available on Bandcamp, so as always, I will drop a link in the description to a full list of these releases on Bandcamp. So let's jump right into it, starting with December of 2021. On December 3rd, Dallas, Texas-based dark rock band Rosegarden Funeral Party released 2 albums at once. The first is called In the Wake of Fire. The second is called Take Cover, and that one is a collaboration with various other musicians from around the world, which is pretty cool. Also on December 3rd, German synth-pop duo Paradox Obscur released a 3-track EP called Voxeter. If you're into electro and synth-pop dance music, give this one a listen. Another one from December 3rd, California dark electro duo Male Tears released a 7-track album called Trauma Club. It's a beautifully dark record reminiscent of 80s synth-pop. On December 10th, UK-based darkwave artist The Secret Experiment released an 8-track album called Years. This is a dark, haunting album that I would overall call darkwave, but it touches on elements of goth rock and even hints of industrial at times. I would recommend this to fans of 90s darkwave. If you like bands like London After Midnight, you may enjoy this album. Also on December 10th, dark rock artist Sect released a 6-track album called Proskynesis. This album has quite the mixed bag of sounds. It ranges from goth rock to metal to post-punk depending on the track. If you're into more guitar-based dark music, give it a listen. On December 12th, Italian death rock band NOKTVA released a 7-track album called Like 7 Forgotten Tales. This is just some solid modern death rock. If you're into bands like Over and Mystic Priestess, give this one a listen. On December 18th, Russian death rock band Deathhawk released a 6-track album called Svetabayasin. This one is on the harder side of death rock, so if you're into harder genres of music like metal or hardcore punk, you may like the sound of this one. On December 24th, legendary UK post-punk band 1919 released a 3-track EP called Satellite Man. If you're a fan of 1919 or other classic post-punk like Bauhaus, give it a listen. Moving along to January of 2022, on January 3rd, Brazilian post-punk artist Anum Preto released a 4th self-titled album. It has 8 tracks and is very lo-fi post-punk, so if you're into some of the music coming out of the Eastern European cold wave scene, you might be into this one as well. On January 9th, Austrian dark synth-pop artist Blank Picture released a 4-track EP called Ghost. Ghost is a fitting name for this EP because it has a very dark, eerie sound to it. It's definitely on the spookier side of synth-pop. On January 14th, Swiss post-punk and electronic artist Carlo Onda released a 9-track album called Sturm und Drang. Overall, this leans a little darker than some of Carlo Onda's previous releases. The album has elements of synth-pop, darkwave, and electro. I really enjoyed this one. On January 17th, Obscura Undead released their annual compilation album, Unobscured Volume 3. This contains a fantastic mix of tracks released in 2021 from various artists. The compilation has 32 different tracks and is name your own price. So if you're looking for a great deal on a variety sampling of all kinds of dark underground jams, check it out. I think it's pretty cool that OU is bringing the old school CD style comps into the digital era, along with a few dark record labels that are also still putting out comps. On January 21st, dark synth pop artist Licorice Chamber released a 5-track EP called The Taste of Falling. Licorice Chamber is the solo project of Layla Reina from Strap On Halo, so if you're a Strap On Halo fan or into dark synthy music, check it out. Also on January 21st, Massachusetts-based dark electronic duo Boy Harsher released an 8-track album called The Runner. This one is an original soundtrack to a short horror film they produced by the same name. I love Boy Harsher. If you get the chance, check out the album and the film. On January 30th, Canadian post-punk artist Wet Makeup released 3 separate EPs. The first is called Blindfold and is 5 tracks. The second is called Bouquet, and that one is 4 tracks. And the third is called Single French Hybrids and is 4 tracks. These are very lo-fi post-punk. I've been really getting into the lo-fi sound lately. The sound has been popular in the Eastern European cold wave scene for a while, but more artists around the world seem to be experimenting with the style. So if you're into bands like Molchat Dama, check these EPs out. Now we'll move along to February of 2022. On February 4th, Florida-based death rock band The Palest Grey released a 7-track album called Always Haunted. This is the first and only release from The Palest Grey, as they disbanded shortly after the album's release. The album is very dark, haunting death rock and is definitely worth the purchase. On February 5th, Austin, Texas-based cold wave and dark wave artist This Cold Night released a 10-track album called Are We Not Immortal Yet? This Cold Night is beautiful post-punk based dark wave and sometimes plays around with that classic French cold wave sound. So if you're into that dark, laid-back post-punk sound, check it out. On February 14th, Australian synth-pop artist Suburban released a 12-track album called Split Levels. If you're into dark electronic music, check this one out. It's reminiscent of 80s synth pop and has a lot of punctuated percussion, so it's fun to dance to. Also on February 14th, Ukrainian darkwave artist Blacklight District released a 25-track album called Blacklight District 2. This one is a mixed bag of both goth and electronic sounds. Depending on the track, there's elements of synth pop, industrial, dark post-punk, and more. So if you're into that sort of mix, check it out. Another one from February 14th, French death rock band The Last Oath released a 10-track album called Palin Syndrome. This one toes the line of harder goth rock and death rock. If you're into bands like Fields of the Nephilim, you may dig their sound. A second release from The Secret Experiment in this video. On February 18th, The Secret Experiment released an 8-track album called Horizon. Again, this is like third wave 90s style dark wave. On February 22nd, Australian dark post-punk band Locust Revival released a 5-track EP called Your Delusions Are Not Mine. This is some solid 80s style dark post-punk with a modern twist. If you're into bands like Softkill, check this one out. On February 28th, Italian goth rock band The Spiritual Bat released a 9-track album called Mission Create. If you're into 90s goth rock and 2000s death rock, you'll probably dig this album. There you have it, folks, your new music picks for winter of 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.